So you've had a spiritual awakening and you're lost, much like I was about 3 years ago. Well, long story, and I will get into that, but I'd like to demystify mysticism, essentially. I'm going to be doing a however many part video series here explaining mysticism, spiritual awakening, the nature of reality, what all of this is about in as concise and clear, and get rid of all the gobbledygook as much as I can, as quick as I can, so that you people who don't like, or it isn't their life's mission to demystify this stuff, like mine. You know, there's a lot of us. You are not alone. The planet is having a spiritual awakening in itself, a resurgence, a renaissance, and everyone on this thing is along for the ride. This awakening process has reached critical mass, and it's got to the point where there are going to be lots of people searching for a concise Cole's Notes version of what's going on. And you can find everything on the internet. All of the information is there. By all means, search. But what I have noticed is that there is very few, let's say, concise summaries of what you're in, of what you're doing here, and what all of this is about. I haven't found many. So I'm going to do my best, and it seems to me that is the role that I've been tasked with, at least for whoever happens upon this video series. As you start to awaken, you realize that not every act you do or every video you make is supposed to reach millions of people. In fact, none of mine have reached more than 1,000. I think some have, but it doesn't matter. But it has reached exactly who it's supposed to reach. There are no mistakes, and the eyes that will see this really need to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and do this on my humble little channel, and hopefully I can keep it down to 2 or 3 videos, but I think that's going to be pretty hard. So, in order to even get started, you have to kind of get a sense of who I am and whether or not you can trust the information I'm sending you. A large portion of the awakening game is realizing that discernment and your judgment are priority number 1. There is tons of good information on the internet. There is tons of misleading information, and you just need to find the people that you trust. Don't be fooled by thinking that the people with the biggest channels are the people with the greatest source, or the information that you need at this time in your awakening. I've gotten unbelievably valuable information from very, very small channels. So, that being said, I am Jason. That is the name I was given. Jason means healer in Greek. So I was born in Eastern Canada into a poor family, and in a very poor village. I had a very difficult upbringing, and it it's very clear to me that that was on purpose. In order to obtain wisdom, you must have knowledge with practical experience. The two combined are what make wisdom. And I've obtained lots of wisdom in a difficult life. So I grew up here on the east coast of Canada, and like I said, it was into poverty, abject poverty. Now, there was SA in my life. There was lost so many things. I've done a ridiculous amount of videos on this and healing it myself. You can go back and look at the videos and see how much I've grown and what I've been through. But suffice it to say, I've had a hard upbringing, and then I hard-earned wisdom. So about 13 years ago, in 2013, I had my first glimpse of the spiritual awakening. I called it my Eckhart awakening because I was very much into Eckhart Tolle's work, and it resonated deeply with me and helped me understand a lot of things about what we're going through here. Now, I had this awakening where I had a glimpse of the ego, the egoic mind, versus the higher you, we'll call it. The you that exists when the mind stops thinking, or at least there's some separation. So I got that glimpse. Then I kind of went back to sleep. I had a good 6-month run where I was learning how to be more at peace in the world. But I hadn't yet done any healing on all the trauma that I had to do. So then you fast forward to approximately, well, not approximately, 3 years ago, the end of the summer, 3 years ago. And I had a revelation that I was autistic, which led to a dark night of the soul and a begging for annihilation. And a lot of learning to understand how different I really was compared to most people. So this started the healing process. That went on for a few months, and then I had a profound awakening where I woke up one day after just a light switch flicked, and I went through a harrowing journey for, well, it lasted till now essentially, but for about 3 days I was going through what I call like a lesson plan or a boot camp, and it was kind of crazy. So in fact, you wonder when this stuff happens, this Kundalini style snapping into reality, you wonder if you are crazy. So for anyone that's going through that, you're not. Bear with me, we'll get you through this. So I had this happen to me, and it's the first time I've ever seen anything like that, where all of the clairs at one point or another have been turned on. The clairs being these supernatural type abilities that are purported to exist, like telekinesis, like what else? Clairvoyance, clairsentience. It's like just a knowing, a connection with your higher self to the point where you just know, and you can predict the future, and you can communicate with spirits, and you can do all of this stuff. Anything you can think of. Telepathy. So this happened to me, and then I went kind of back to sleep again, but I couldn't unsee what I had seen. So all these abilities kind of just turned off, like healing with hands, healing touch. So they turned off, and over the last 3 years, I've been slowly, meticulously healing the trauma and behavioral conditioning instilled into me from society, my parents, etc. And essentially letting go of all the pain that I was holding on to for this amount of time. And I've had my wife here with me the entire time. She's also going through something similar. Not surprisingly, when you understand how this works. And it's gotten me to this point where I understand what my purpose is, or at least one of my purposes. I had at one point or another every one of those abilities turned on, then turned off, then another one turned on, then turned off. Sometimes several at a time. I've seen all of the things that you can say are supernatural at one point or another. And it's very clear that that was on purpose. It was not to overwhelm me too much, because you don't want all those turned on at once if you haven't been experiencing them your entire life. And also so that I could have a grasp and an understanding and the wisdom to understand what each of those means. Because in the new earth, you're going to have one of those abilities at least. You have a purpose in this new earth, and it begins with helping and healing yourself. Priority number one. So, the nature of reality. Everything around you is energy. It's all energy. Matter is just energy coagulated down to a low vibrational frequency, the densest kind of energy, where we can have these experiences that we come here to experience. So, this body that you're inhabiting, and by you I mean your higher self, is what I like to call the mind-body complex. So it has an operating system, the brain, and the avatar has a physical structure in the realm of the earth. In the 3D realm, they call it sometimes. All of these terms are what trips up a lot of people, because we call it one thing and then we call it another thing and then we'll use a different term for it, and all of them mean the same thing. Physical matter and the reality that you exist in. It isn't really physical, but it's irrelevant. You're here to live in this avatar and experience things. So it's a construct that you have created, and you and God, to experience what it's like being a human through your particular lens. So you have the mind and the body as one in a complex that we've often referred to as the avatar. I call it the mind-body complex. You could call it a meat suit. You can call it whatever you want. Again, don't get tripped up on the terminology. It's just a way to describe the same thing. So this is the terms I like to use. So it has an operating system, your brain, and it's puppeted by the higher you. The higher you being a fractal of the divine. The divine, source, God, all different words for the same thing. Same thing. Don't get tripped up, and it doesn't matter. So, the divine is the divine source God, is what's created all of this, essentially. But it also has a counterpart. So this being the masculine, it has a feminine counterpart in Earth. So Earth has its creatures on the surface, you being one of them, and you the avatar that you inhabit being one of them. And you're the expression of the planet, or the fingertips of the earth, and the God projects essentially a beam of itself down. There is no up and down, but down into you, into your body, into your avatar, into your mind-body complex. And it joins in this heart center. Now, the avatar, this thing, it's essentially a vehicle for you to drive while you're here experiencing life. And it's puppeted using the chakra system. You can call that other things as well. But it's essentially a purely energetic system that you puppet the avatar using through, and it has color frequencies associated with each one of the chakra points. But there is no real point. It's a frequency, a band, like a rainbow. And it happens to match the colors of the rainbow. So you have 3 lower chakras, for simplicity's sake, 3 higher chakras, and your center chakra is the heart chakra. Like that. And the upper you, the higher you, projects down as the base of the pyramid to a point, and it meets at you. And then another projection of God meets at another person. And a projection of the Mother Earth meets at your body. Do you see the combination? It's a mind, body, spirit game. And everybody else is having the same thing. So everybody else is just a fractal of God experiencing life through an avatar. And we're all here playing out a divine play in order to understand what it's like to be a human. It's the universe understanding itself. And the only way to do that with a conceptual, instead of it just being a conceptual understanding, is to do it through experience. And that's what the game is. So the upside down pyramids cross at your heart chakra. One spinning one direction, one spinning the other direction. And they project out a beam of consciousness that creates everything that you see. So that's also known as a Merkaba in alchemical research. But that doesn't matter. The entire point of me explaining this entire thing is that you are a spiritual being inhabiting an avatar, having a human experience. That is the only thing you need to know out of any of that. Don't get caught up on the description of the chakras. The one spiritual practice, one religious practice calls it this. The other one calls it this. Irrelevant. None of it matters. None of it matters. The only thing you need to do is understand what the point of being here is. So, if you're here to be a shaman or a teacher, then you can delve into any one of these very niche parts of this whole system, if you'd like. It's like a scientist specializing in a particular subject. But for the purpose of the lay person, the person who's going through the spiritual awakening and just wants to understand what's going on, none of that matters. And the arguments that people have over, oh, it's 12 levels or it's this, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. Every one of these religious practices points to the same thing, that you are God experiencing yourself through the eyes of this human, through the experience of this human being. So, does that mean that none of this is real? I've had that question myself. And of course it's real. You're looking at me. You're looking at yourself. You can look at your hands. You can choose to do what you'd like. It's real. The nature of it is not what we thought it was. Science, the study of material things and immaterial things, energy, is leading in this direction. It knows that this is reality, that consciousness studies are pointing that this is what's going on. They can call it a simulation, you can call it whatever you want. The same thing. If you need further proof, you can look at Donald Hoffman's research. It's mathematically pointing in that direction. But all of the consciousness research is starting to be accepted in mainstream, and things like the placebo effect or the double slit experiment prove it, in my opinion, that reality is not what we thought it was. It just isn't. You're here to experience what it's like to be a human, and the only way to do it is to step into one of these meat sacks. So I think I'll leave it there for this first episode, and the next one I'll discuss. I'll keep going. So like I always say, I hope this video finds you well. I love you all, and we'll see you soon.